Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome. And today we have a special guest, Cindy from Seeing Blind Channel. And
Hi.
hi, and and our co-host, as usual, is Paul from Paul's Blind Sleep for the Soul.
Hello, everybody. Welcome.
And we're doing things a little different this time. Yes, instead of having a full out live stream, it's we're recording this. We're pre-recording this, so it's live while we're doing it. But we're going to pre-record it, and then as you can see, then we premiere it and have the chat be live. So it'll be pre-recorded, but be live in the chat. So,
and that's very good. I'm glad that we're doing this because it turns out wonderful. Because I just realized that our normal Sunday broadcast for October is my birthday.
Oh, okay.
So
when is your birthday, Paul?
Yeah, thank you. And so I'll be in Wisconsin.
Your birthday is coming up like in September?
Yeah, October 3rd. Yeah.
First Sunday.
Mine's October 15th.
Oh, there you go. Libras.
Yes. Whoop whoop. October is in the house.
So I'll be, and Diana, you're just finding out about this. So if Diana has a shocked look on her face, I apologize.
That's not a big
Surprise.
deal.
Yeah. So I might be able to, maybe, depending if the outdoor is not hard to see on the phone. I might be able to pop in the chat. But other than that, happy birthday to me, I guess. We're going to be going to the lakefront in Milwaukee, near Milwaukee, North Milwaukee.
That sounds lovely.
And hang out with Lisa's family, and we're just going to chill right there on the lakefront, kayaking and picnicking and stuff like that. So, okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. You can interrupt to make it casual.
Give everybody a chance to say hi.
Yeah.
Chat a little bit.
Oh yeah.
We already did backstage, everybody. We did a backstage, but okay, on camera too.
Yeah.
And because that's how we usually. This is like a new format. Is it a new form? No, it isn't. We had a special guest a few times before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, several times. That's what we're talking about.
Well, our whole precipice is to have people come up on panel live, but this is a premiere, so at least we can get involved in the chat. But next month we should be live. So,
and I'm going to try to jump in with everybody on the chat during the premiere on Sunday, if I can, if my family lets me. But as we were talking backstage earlier, that's kind of the issue on my channel. My goal is to put a video up every week, but with 2 toddlers and everything,
it's not easy.
It is not easy. YouTube is a beast. There's a lot of back end stuff that is so time consuming, and so getting the video up, it is a bit inconsistent on my channel these days, but so it's slowed down a bit. So if anybody wants to show some love there, I would really appreciate it. Yeah. But man, it's hard. It's hard work for sure, keeping that schedule. And so this is a great format because this is something I'm going to hopefully be able to utilize myself on my channel. It's I'm glad you taught me how to do this, Diana. I appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome.
Oh, that's awesome.
You've taught me a lot, Diana, because like when I first met you and started getting active in your channel, like I've been live on yours a couple of times doing like the channel reviews and things like that. And
I don't do them anymore. I did them for a couple years, or maybe a year and a half or something.
Yeah, that's when I first started kind of getting involved. And but you taught me a lot in the beginning. So
okay.
I really appreciate it.
Interesting. That's good to know. Okay. So it is a little bit different format. We're actually going to kind of interview Cindy. I don't know, is that what we call it? To get kind of her life story. So it's kind of like a life story interview, as opposed to other people. We didn't have this format with a life story kind of thing. That we, like with other people, it was their business, and somebody, and then Bama Blind, it was a certain topic.
Yes.
So,
it wasn't as in depth.
Mhm.
This is more in depth because Cindy's the only one here. So she's on the
I
block.
happen to know a lot about this topic, y'all. So
okay.
So I could go on for a long time.
Awesome. Well, that's good for us.
It's in, what's this? Can you still see me? Because a pop-up came up here. A pop-up
you
came
look
up
good.
there that I have to X out of it.
No, we see you.
Okay. What?
I see you, Diane.
Oh yeah. Okay. I had to X out. The pop-up blocked the whole screen, and I had to X out of it.
Okay.
So that just made me wonder. That doesn't usually happen. So, but we have Cindy's channel linked down below. That's Seeing Blind, this Seeing Blind channel. And so, Cindy, can you tell us about when you got your vision disability, your vision loss?
Yeah. So, I have had a very long sight loss journey. I started losing my vision around age 5, so a very, very young age. And, back then they did not have the genetic testing, and, rare diseases were just that. They were rare, not very many, typical run of the mill eye doctors knew all the, rare stuff. And I lived in a pretty small area. It wasn't necessarily a city. And, I remember in kindergarten, just telling my mom, like, hey, I can tell I can't see as well as everybody else. Like, I think I just need some glasses, Mom. I need some glasses. And, part of me was kind of like, oh, maybe this will kind of look cool. Like, I was the kid that I sort of rebelled against that insecurity of, like, the 4 eyes and all those, like, people getting picked on and bullied because they had glasses. I was kind of a rebel against that. Like, I wanted glasses in a way just to be different, or just to justify why I wasn't seeing and performing as well as my peers. And so anyway, in this, relatively small town where I lived, I was growing up, my mom took me to our local eye doctor, and it was a traumatic experience. He didn't dilate my eyes or anything like that. But long story short, I've told this story several times on my channel. I think there was a couple of videos like losing eyesight as a young child, teenager. I've got all those videos there. But basically, my very first eye doctor appointment, he called me a liar. He called me just a stupid little kid who didn't want to tell the truth and didn't believe me that I could not see the pictures he was trying to get me to see. And, I was 5, so he was trying to get me to identify these animals that they were projecting onto the wall. And I couldn't make them out. And he basically thought I was lying so that I could get the glasses and the attention. He thought it was attention-seeking behavior. And basically, to my face, called me a liar and told my mom when she's ready to tell the truth, you can bring her back. So a year goes by, and I'm still continuing to lose vision. And so we went to a different doctor. And so long story short, I went through 3 or 4 different diagnoses before they landed on Stargardt's disease. Yeah. So I have Stargardt's disease, and I have a pretty advanced case of it. I did start at a young age, but I never really stabilized. You hear a lot of people talk about people with retinal conditions. The hope, the prayer is to reach a stable point in the condition where you might experience some fluctuations, but overall you're pretty much stabilized. You're not going to lose much more throughout your life. And I hit a good plateau for many years through my 20s. But when I became a mom, I lost about 2-3 times more. So it's been the last 5 years, I've had a huge adjustment again. And I I think the doctors, they told me when I was a child and my parents growing up that I shouldn't progress more than 20/400 with Stargardt's. And when I did a video here recently on going to my low vision specialist for the first time since I've had my pregnancies, just to kind of see where I'm at. And I was 20/2100.
Mm.
So there's a huge difference between 400 and 2100. And so I've lost a lot more than I think a typical Stargardt's person has. And it's been over the course of 30 plus years, and a lot of adapting, a lot of tears, a lot of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that I love about finding my community and YouTube and everything like that, because it's really helped me achieve that new level of acceptance and really processing through a lot of difficulty in sight loss.
Absolutely.
Yes. Can you tell us about what happened in your childhood after that? I mean, after that traumatic experience with the doctor, how did that get resolved with your family?
Yeah. Well, it was really, really difficult. So my mom is a warrior, man, but she is one of those that she doesn't mean to sweep things under the rug, if you will, and just pretend it's not there. But she really tried her best to protect me so much from all of her tears. But my mom's heart was shattered, you guys.
Yeah.
She, you guys, this was 30 years ago. And it's one of those things where my mom, like, not very many people know or have met or have any experience with a blind child. And she thought in the beginning, like most people do, when you hear the word blind, it's all or nothing.
Right.
And she thought I was going to lose everything. And she just, all these what if questions. And she also had me later in life. She had me at age 40. I was a surprise baby, but she, like most people did in the 60s and 70s, she smoked and she had some beers, and by the time she got pregnant with me, she had stopped all that, but she thought she had done enough damage to her body that she was holding a lot of guilt.
Yeah.
And so because of that, she blamed herself for my condition for many years. But she protected me. I didn't see that grief on her. I didn't ever see her, struggling with it. But because I did not see her struggling with it, we never talked about it. And that is really, I think, and I mean, at the time, I was oblivious because I was 5, I was 6, 7, from about ages 5 to about 9 or 10. I went over this in my video, like about ages 5 to 9 or 10. You don't quite understand the reality of how this type of event in life will impact the entirety of your life. And you're not mature enough to understand that to that level and to that degree of significance. And so as I developed and as I grew older, my mom, she really shut me out of her grieving process. And so by doing that, it shut us out of talking about it and me being able to talk to anyone about it. I thought it was one of those things where, we don't mention it. We don't talk about it because it's, nothing. I never felt shame of it, but it was something that was not meant to be discussed with people. So I internalized a lot growing up, and I had a lot of insecurities. Like a lot of people, I did not realize this until I found community here on Facebook and on YouTube, how many of us who are diagnosed young start out most of our journeys hiding it.
Yep. There's a lot of us.
Yes, a
A
lot
lot
of
of
people
the
hide.
older generation now that were younger then that had some type of eye disease or visual impairment, back then growing up, you didn't talk about it.
No. And really it's kind of that like pre-ADA age of where, oh, it's you are a burden on society and you don't mention anything that can bring you down in the eyes of society.
Yeah.
And so I was kind of on the tail end of that. And my parents were that generation. And so that was sort of the mentality in the home I grew up in. And so I grew up with this idea that, okay, I'm going to achieve a happier life if I do my best to hide it, to camouflage it as much as possible, to put a band-aid over things, to lie, to misdirect, to redirect, to deceive, to everything. I mean, I got a little too serious with boys too soon, too heavy, trying to, get rides that way. Like I'll making sure, oh, I've always got a ride as long as I got a boyfriend.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. And
Yep.
just that kind of stuff. And so it really kind of ruined my high school experience. I hated high school. I rather have I
And you were
embraced.
hiding it too, right? In high
Oh
school?
yeah, and only my closest friends knew I had a quote vision problem,
Yeah.
and we rarely, if ever, discussed though how bad it was. And back then, I was 20 over 200, so I was able to really. In high school, I was I was around 20 over 200, 2,300 probably, somewhere around in there. And I was still able to mask it pretty easily, pretty convincingly. But my close friends were aware something was wrong. And
Yeah.
that's why I would not be getting my driver's license the same time as everybody else.
Right.
But as far as the school itself, as far as just general classroom experiences go, no, it was never discussed. No one ever knew. I hid it. I was a master of being a chameleon, and I embraced that persona of the dumb blonde. I preferred that. I preferred being the dumb blonde, the idiot high schooler, the stupid kid, over the disabled one.
Yeah.
I chose
And
that,
that's
and
really sad.
it is. Looking back, it
That
is.
breaks my heart.
I was very deceived in my mind as far as what that was going to get me in life, because it really did shortchange me in the long run. But at the time, kids, I mean, you are dealing with so much insecurity, so much self-discovery. Who am I? How do I want people to view me? How do I want, how do I want to conquer the world, and how do I want to, be perceived in this world? And every kid, I mean, as part of growing up, you want to have that, fulfill that sense of belonging. You want to be part of the pack. You want to, you want to choose what you rebel against and what you push as far as boundaries go. You want it to be your choice on your terms. And when it's not, then it's not cool. And you're going to do your best to, kind of blend in with everybody else. And so it's that innate sense, I think, that we all have, that we don't want this thing that we grew up thinking was this taboo sort of thing about us, this flaw, to influence our relationships. And you don't want to just advertise that and say, oh, well, actually, no, I'm sorry, I can't go to the party because I don't have a ride, I don't drive, because oh, by the way, did you know I'm blind? Like, what teenager is really going to own up to that? There's
Yeah.
a lot of social cultural pressure there that
Oh, yeah.
teaches the opposite reaction. And so a lot of teenagers have a very difficult journey because of that, and I was one of them. And it took well into my 20s. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, my husband and I even have to even today continuously work on things to overcome, to work on my communication because I'm terrible at it, because I'm so used to keeping everything in. I've really, in my late 20s and 30s, just got to the point where I am now an open book. And I'm proud and I'm secure and I feel empowered. I've always been an independent woman, but now I am an independent blind woman and I'm proud of it. And it took a long time and a lot of healing and a lot of acceptance to get to this point where I'm fine whipping out my white cane. Whereas before, that white cane was a label, a stigma that I fought with every ounce in my body. So I've come a long way.
So are you your mid-30s?
Yep, I'm actually pushing 40, y'all. Not to date myself, but yeah, I'm having a birthday soon next month, so I'm in my late 30s.
Oh, and
enjoy them because 40s are.
I know, right? My husband and I, we already agreed we're going to stop celebrating birthdays now. We're done.
40s, you start noticing other things. Aches.
Oh, I already do. Paul.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing about your teenage years, because then I was going to ask about that. But in your 20s, though, what did any positive changes happen happening in your 20s?
So, I moved away from home, and that was kind of the big shift for me, and I think for a lot of students and young adults out there that are already on their sight loss journey. It's a huge transition, especially if you've been going to school for the blind and you haven't really had a whole lot of exposure on a daily, hourly basis of being constantly around sighted people who aren't used to being around visually impaired people. When you go to a school for the blind, that's kind of the unfortunate, the nature of that environment. And because of that, you sort of end up in this bubble. And
you went to a school for the blind?
I did not.
You did not. As I was saying, I didn't think you.
I did not, but I have had this conversation with a lot of others, and who that was their experience. And so when and myself, and with my background, I went to public school. When we moved out of our parents' homes and we went to college, no matter what background you have, there is a huge adjustment to living on your own, to getting your needs met on your own, and having to advocate for yourself. And it doesn't fall on anyone else. No one else is following up to make sure your needs are being met at school. There's no more IEPs. There's no more meetings with your parents or, within, your caregiver. Like, it's all on you. You're an adult.
No one helping you to get up in the morning.
Exactly. Life gets real.
I struggle
with it. Yeah, I mean, life gets real for every, high schooler making that transition into college or into some kind of trade school or whatever the next step in life. When you're moving out of your parents' home, and life gets real no matter who you are, what age you are. But when you're managing a disability and specifically sight loss, it is a major life adjustment. And I am one of those people where I thank God every day. One of my blessings is I welcome the challenge of adapting. I'm like a duck that on water, I will do whatever it takes for me to stay afloat and to paddle down shore. That's sort of my personality. And I rose to the challenge, and I adapted. I found what I needed to in college. I got involved with the Disability Resource Center at college. I pushed through. I got a degree in music therapy. And music has always been a passion of mine in life. I loved singing. I loved just artistry of it. I didn't necessarily I knew I didn't want to be a performer, but I knew I wanted to help people and discover how music can help them. And so music therapy fell in my lap, and I fell in love with it, and voila. So through college, through my 20s, I was beginning to open up about my vision loss, but I was still,
Yeah,
I mean, I
it's in
still
the
hit it.
roots. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I still hit it a lot. I had a lot of insecurity with dating. I had a lot of insecurity when it came to going to parties. I had to really trust the people I was going with because I
yeah,
knew those were going to be the situations that were going to bring out my disability and were really going to challenge my adaptations and potentially put me in a dangerous situation.
yeah.
And thankfully, I had enough maturity at the time to recognize that because I could have really put myself into some very dangerous situations
Oh, absolutely.
and been
Especially when
taken
somebody
advantage
knows
of.
that
Yeah.
you're blind.
Do what?
I said, especially when somebody knows that you're blind,
Yeah.
they
And
could take
and
advantage of you. You know.
or doesn't know I'm blind, and then next thing you know, oh hey, yeah, it's just around the corner, and then they take off, and I'm just standing there like,
Oh, that
where did
too.
they point? You know, I mean,
Yeah,
if the people that you're going with, you know, in your immediate group and you're going to a party, if the people in your immediate group don't know your situation, that's where I feel like you can really set yourself up for a dangerous situation.
yeah,
So thankfully I had a really good core group, especially one close girlfriend I grew up with in my hometown, and we went to college together and lived together like our third, fourth years in college. And so she really had my back. And if it weren't for her, I would not have really got to experience the college life that most kids do.
yeah, yeah,
So, because, you know, I am aware of my boundaries and I did my best to stay safe. So I did lose a wee bit through college of vision, but not very much that it changed how I adapted, and it didn't really change how I functioned day to day. So there wasn't really a whole lot of adjustment as far as managing my disability through my 20s. It was still a lot of just discovering me, just discovering who I want to be, what do I want to do, and how do I achieve that with sight loss. Um, I didn't really have a lot of opportunity in my 20s to really work on the emotional part, the acceptance part. I kind of like you go through phases in life where you kind of have to deal with what's in front of you at that point and put everything else on the back burner until you've got that energy and that freedom and the opportunity in life to address those things. But a lot of this stuff is so complex and it's so packed full of things that take time to unpack. You kind of have to just pick things as you go through life. Like these sets of years, I was working on me. I was discovering me. And these sets of years, I was discovering like who I want to be with or what do I want to do. And these sets of years, okay, I realized, all right, if I'm going to be in a relationship and I want a relationship, then I need to work on my communication and my emotion and then my acceptance. And so it's funny when I look back how in some, you know, the different 5, 10 years, chunks of time, it has really kind of been all about focusing on a single aspect of the sight loss journey, if that makes sense. So
yes, yes.
Oh, so in your in college, you said you did not focus on the emotional. That came later.
that came later. I was so focused on, okay, who am I? What do I want to do with my life? And so I thought I loved music therapy. Okay, I'm going to college for music therapy. What do I need to do to make that happen? That was my focus. And what do I need to do to be a 20 something, to be happy? What are all the 20 somethings doing? That's what I want to do. You know, that was the things that I was focused on then. And I wasn't focused on, okay, how do I navigate those conversations, and when do I disclose to people that I'm visually impaired? And when I wasn't thinking, I was still avoiding all of those conversations. So I had not yet touched on the emotional part of accepting my disability and how it would impact my relationships. I still had some major barriers up in my 20s. So I became a music therapist, and I went into the workforce full time. I was a full time music therapist, and that's kind of, I think, when I had to face disclosing to people about my disability, and I had to, for liability reasons, for safety reasons, for just to be honest and upfront with employers, with patients, with people, my colleagues. And so there is a point in life that you'll find you will have no choice. You have to stop hiding it. And you cannot get away with hiding it anymore. It's like it'll smack you in the face and it'll say, okay, you have to deal with this now. And so that was when I entered into the workforce. I think that's when I really started to begin opening up and disclosing my visual impairment with a little bit more ease and comfort. And that was probably my mid to late 20s, as I was a big, working 50-hour, weeks, just big career woman. So.
Mm-hmm.
And with the college material, did you use audiobooks?
Audiobooks weren't really a thing. They were very difficult to get a hold of back then. There wasn't really any major productions or anything like that. So what you had to do was find a blessed soul that would agree to record a book for you. And so the quality was not always great to listen to, if you could find someone who has posted a recording or had a recording of that specific text that your professor was using. That's a thing. College textbooks, they cycle out every couple years to stay with the latest and greatest. And so back then, it was very difficult to find audio versions, especially in my field of music therapy. Back then, it was a very new program at that college, and books and research and things in music therapy, there weren't a lot of audio formats. And so I had a CCTV is what I relied on. The Disability Resource Center would enlarge things for me. I think back then it was called like a quick look or a sneak peek or something like that. It was like a little handheld, like digital magnifying device. And so I had a lot of little gadgets here and there that helped me. And as a musician, I relied heavily on my memory. I memorized everything because I can't see the music. So I would put it under my CCTV. I would read it. I would, under that, and I would memorize it because, you have to get up close. So my back is hunched over, and I'm a vocalist. You can't do that.
Yeah.
So I had to put it in my CCTV. I would memorize my music and then do my best from memory, perform what I could, that way. And then I recorded all my vocal lessons. I recorded as many of my ensemble classes, things like that. And thankfully, as a music therapy major, most of, when you get into your degree with clinical work, clinical fields like this, and you get into clinical work, it's a lot more clinical. I mean, it's just more, actually going to places, having patient interactions, and learning your craft and learning your what your job is. And so when it came to accommodations in college, I wish I had more audio back then, but that was in the early 2000s, and there wasn't a lot back then.
Right. Yeah, that sounds really difficult. Yeah, I know. So then, what happened Do you want to share anything like significant that happened in your work life and your late 20s or early 30s?
Yeah, so I know one of the challenges in the blind community, a lot of people want to know, like, how do they disclose? Oh, and when do they disclose that they have a visual impairment? During the interview process, during the hiring process, at what point? And I remember really struggling with that because, like I said, I was in denial. I was hiding it. I was still not facing it, not disclosing it. I wasn't comfortable talking about it. And so because of that, I was so ill-equipped for the workforce and the professional etiquette of being in the workforce with a disability. And not that there should be a difference from you and your other colleagues, but still there should be a level of honesty. And I, as a music therapist, my first big job, I was part-time doing a lot of contract work, but then until I got my job as I was a pediatric oncology music therapist for 5 years. And so I was working in the hospital and not just on a typical unit, I was pediatric oncology. So these were kids, very sick kids with cancer, and I was around chemo bags, IV poles all the time, and I couldn't see them. And so as a therapist, I had to be aware of my ethics and realize if I am not honest, then I am not being ethical, and thus I am not doing my job. And so as a music therapist, that's when I had to face a lot of those very difficult things. And there was a time in one of my therapy sessions, I had stepped on one of my patients' lines, and they were receiving chemo through their IV during that time, and chemo went everywhere. It pulled the line out of their arm and leaked all over the floor. And it was a group session. And so these are kids, and chemo is, it's a harsh chemical, right? Like you can't, you have to gown, glove, everything. This is
radiation. Yeah,
this is major stuff. And so, we had to immediately cease our session. And a huge medical team had to come in, and thankfully, there was nothing big. It wasn't a huge medical ordeal or anything like that, but it's still an incident that has to be written up in the chart. They have to redo the chemo bag. Those are not cheap. They have to redo this child's line and start the process over, and that's major.
yeah.
It's not. And so I really had to, okay, what steps do I need to take as a blind person on an oncology unit need to do to make sure this never happens again?
Yeah.
And what do I need to disclose to people so that they can assist me in making sure this never happens again? And so it challenged me to realize that I, as an independent woman, am not going to be able to do everything on my own. I'm going to have to disclose it to people and ask for help. And that doesn't make me any less of a person. It doesn't make me any less of a colleague. Doesn't make me any less of a music therapist or anyone out there. A doctor could go out there and ask for help. It doesn't make them any less of a doctor. So I really this is when I really began to see that it's okay to ask for help, and it's okay to acknowledge that my disability is going to put not just me at a disadvantage, but it's going to risk other people's health.
Absolutely.
And there is a major boundary there. You have to respect other people's safety too, not just your own.
That's probably a very strong pride pill to swallow.
It is. And it is something that's part of that self-discovery, that when you are hiding it, when you've spent all of your life, denying what's going on and just trying to blend in with everybody else, it really goes against the grain. to admit that, hey, there are times when you're going to have to ask for help, and that's okay. It doesn't make you less of a person. That is a very big shift in thinking. And so it was entering into the workforce that pushed me into that. And I realized, okay, I love my job, but I did come to the point where I realized I'm not going to be able to do this forever, because of the liability. Because I was so fearful of something even worse happening. Because it was one of those things where hospitals.
Could you forgive yourself, for a mistake that you made? That would be an honest mistake, and it's your disability, and now you have to make a choice as a person on whether am I doing this for pride or am I doing this helping other people like I want to?
And that's a great point, because forgiveness is part of that journey of acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And it is something that that until you've truly accepted and gotten to this level in life, you're going to have a hard time. You're not going to see that there is anything to forgive, because you are just so consumed with hiding it, pushing it away. And so it's kind of like there for a while, you don't even realize that there's anything to forgive, because your energy is completely and wholly focused on just put a Band-Aid on the whole situation. Redirect, everyone look away. That didn't happen. Oh, sorry. Haha, that could have happened to anybody, right? And so when you do make that shift into, okay, this legitimately happened because I could not see this line. When you start to admit and you start to realize this would not have happened, I would have not put this child and this family and these doctors and nurses through this if I was more transparent and communicative. They knew I had a vision problem, but they didn't know how bad. They didn't know what kind of assistance. I never asked them for help. And they were completely professional. They handled the situation appropriately. They're waiting for me to advocate for myself, which is the correct response, a correct professional thing to do in an environment like that. And so I realized that when it was on me, that was when I first started realizing that there is self-forgiveness here. And when you don't have that self-forgiveness, that's when resentment can really set in. And we all go through those phases of the phases of the loss, of grief and loss, the 5 phases of grief and loss, where it's acceptance, grief, the anger, depression, denial, acceptance.
Yep.
The anger, and I can't remember the fifth, but part of that is you have to get into that stage, I feel like, of your journey before you realize there's something to forgive, and that you have to forgive, or you just stay bitter and angry and resentful, not towards the world, towards life, and towards yourself. And so I did have those phases as well. I think we all do. It's part of that, just working through it. Yep, you got to work through it. And it's like there's no linear path. You jump around. Everyone kind of like has their own path that they take. No two is the same. And so I happened to hit that part first, where it smacked me in the face, and I had to start disclosing it. I had to stop hiding it, and I had to work on my communication.
I believe that incident was a blessing in disguise, because it was probably the major turning point in your life.
It was.
Make that switch to open up, where you as a child were just programmed to be hush about everything.
Yes.
That's very powerful. That's very powerful, Cindy.
Thank you. Yeah. So that was when I was working in pediatric oncology. And then I would say the next step in my journey, I have my husband to thank. Because people think, a lot of people who are disabled and they're single really struggle with the whole dating thing, and then dating with a disability thing, and then the being disabled and alone and the loneliness of it. And I see so many people struggle, and I'm like, and they think the grass is greener on the other side. And I just have to laugh, because if they knew the crap that I and my husband have had to work through, just to have a happy, healthy relationship.
Relationships are hard already.
They are, and then
you add a disability to it, and then it's even worse.
Yes, and let me tell you, all the things that you spent your life hiding, that if you're going to spend, your life with a partner, eventually all that stuff comes out. Learning how to work through that for the first time, or not for the first time, but to that level for that long. And I mean, just the journey that my husband and I, we started dating in 2005. And we just had our 7th anniversary. And
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And let me tell you, there are days when like, he'll say the same thing. There's days, I don't know, two people that haven't had, been married or been together for a long time, haven't had that point in their relationship where, you know what, I kind of just wish I were alone. Could I have a week where I could just live a single life just for a little while, And
they call that the 7-year itch, Cindy.
Well, I reached it a long time ago, but it was, I say that in a very healthy, honoring, respectful way. I love my husband. I wouldn't change it. But, there's times when, in every relationship, everyone kind of, you have those moments with your partner where you're like, oh my God. But it really, that he challenged me in our relationship to reach a new level in my disability acceptance and my sight loss journey. And that was admitting and asking for help and communicating my needs.
And that's not easy
it's hard.
do.
No, it is so hard.
We are hard. I've been on both sides of the fence, and I believe Diana's been too.
Yeah.
The thing that is the problem is when you become disabled, visually impaired, what have you, you expect them to know what's going on, and it's your job to educate, because they don't have a magic wand or anything. They
can't read your mind.
They can't read your mind. So the hardest thing for me is to try to describe it and communicate it, and not be quick to judge, people in my encounters. Yep.
Yep, that's been an ongoing struggle for almost 20 years for me. And it's one of those things where when you're not that great at it, it's not like something that you learn and you master and then you have to no longer work on it. It's not a skill like that. It's something you continuously have to work on. You continuously have to put effort into to keep and maintain healthy relationships, and
physical working out.
Yes, very much
like that, where you have
to like a muscle.
Something you have to maintain, an ongoing effort to maintain something.
That's right. And communication is one of those things where I was really bad at it. I'm to this day, it's the thing I have to work on the most. And it's always, people will find that it's, as you get better at communication, when you have a disability, you'll find that sometimes it's easier talking to people that you don't know very well and disclosing what you can do and can't do or can see or what your needs are. It's easier to sometimes admit that to people that you aren't very close to. Yeah. So for people who I've given my heart to, who I love with my whole heart and soul, it is harder for me to ask things of them. It is harder for me to tell them what my struggles are. And it is harder for me to open up to them and communicate on that level with them because I love them so much. I want to protect them. I don't want to burden them. I don't want to inconvenience them. I'm trying to, put that barrier up because I love them. And it's like that. It goes against the grain, it's like the healthier choice there is the harder one. And it's one that I have to constantly work on to this day. But he helped me, in my mid to late 20s to start to realize just how important communication is and how important it is to be honest with the people you love in your life with your disability. Because otherwise, how are they going to walk that path alongside you?
Yeah, exactly.
How are they going to be there to support you if you don't let them in? And if they truly love you in return, you will never be a burden on them as long as you work it out and communicate together. That's it's I could go on about this forever. But I've done so many videos on this type of stuff of feeling like a burden on my family. And, I shared in that video, the steps that I go through to make sure that how I protect my family, and with regards with my disability in a loving, healthy, respectful, and responsible way. I am letting them in, but I am also making sure my needs are being met in a way that's not a burden and inconvenience on the people that I love in my life. And that took a long time to learn. That took a long time for my husband and I to figure that out, because I'm not the type of person to read self-help books. I was never the person to reach out and put a post on Facebook, hey, I am really struggling with this. Has anyone, what's helped you guys? Or does anyone have a good book on this? Or I'm not that type of person. I've had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own, and it's been a hard journey.
Yeah, when you have a loved one and wants to help, truly has your back and wants to help, and you struggle with wondering if you're a burden, you are actually doing a disservice to yourself and to that loved one, because that loved one, when you think that way, doesn't have the tools that he or she needs to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we all struggle with that vulnerable position that asking for help puts us in, because it's totally different if you have to ask, once or twice here and there versus every day of your life. I mean, it eats at you, and asking for help over and over and over, it's hard. It gets harder every single time.
I call that ego. It's the ego in all of us. That the ego part of our psycho. I can't even think of the proper word, but our consciousness, self-consciousness, awareness of our souls. We have an ego that protects us, and that ego is very judgmental and authoritative, and it can drive you crazy, and you have to have a balance. So sometimes you got to let those thoughts and those worries, let them go, and and just let go and let be.
Yeah.
Some people say let go and let God. It's a psychotherapy thing that you have to recognize, and once you recognize that, things usually come together, piece together in this crazy thing called life. Yeah.
And I mean, and as we said, if you don't find that healthy way of getting your needs met and communicating those needs to those you love and letting them in and be a part of that path of figuring life out with a disability, if you don't let them in, like, then you're not doing the relationship you're doing it a
Exactly.
disservice, like you said, and you're keeping them at arm's length, and the relationship's never going to flourish that way. It's always going to feel one-sided. It's going to be really difficult to maintain, and it's not honest. It's not authentic.
Yeah.
And if you want to, if love is a two-way street, man, and if you cannot be authentic and honest, then it's not going to be two ways.
Right.
And that is not going to flow freely. And so, yeah, you've got to do that, and to have a partner in life is a blessing, but getting to that point in a relationship is it is so hard. And if you have not found it hard, then that means you're not digging deep enough.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we don't realize how deep that emotional well of grief and loss in the stages we go through with being disabled. Sometimes we don't realize how deep that well goes. And all of a sudden an event will happen in your life that like just digs it all up, and you're like, what is going on? Why am I so emotional? Why did we have a big blowout argument over this?
Yeah.
How did we drop the ball on that? How did we miscommunicate about this? Yada yada yada. And it's like if when things are too good in a relationship to be true, that means you're not digging hard enough, and you've got stuff to work on. Because I guarantee you guys, it's not easy, and it's not meant to be easy. And the more you work on it, though, and the more you let them in on your journey and work on it together, the stronger and better your relationship will be. And that is something, to be honest with all of you, that is where I am currently at, is something that has my primary focus right now in my life, is my family. And how I communicate and let them in on this path with me. Because it's not just me managing a disability. When we all live together in a house, everyone is managing the disability. And so that's where I'm at right now. And
by doing that, Cindy, you're not just helping yourself, you're helping them learn to.
Yeah.
And grow as an individual and a soul.
Yeah. I want my kids to grow up not ashamed of having a blind mom. I want them to grow up having
opposite of how you grew up. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. I want them to be comfortable with disabilities and to not be afraid of it or shameful of it. And my heart goes out to all those moms I see on Facebook who post like, oh, I have a teenage daughter and she's so ashamed she doesn't want any of her friends to find out that I'm visually impaired. And I'm like, why? Oh my God, I'd flaunt it in their face that much more, I mean, Lord help me if my daughter gets, takes that stance and becomes insecure about it, because there will be a come to Jesus moment of, girl, let me tell you, I am every bit the mom as those kids' moms are, and I will gladly go toe to toe. And but having that self-respect and that pride and that just that dignity is what I want to instill, and it should be regardless of disability. And that's anyway, that's something I've been thinking about a lot, and my heart has been bleeding for these parents, these moms and dads that have been struggling with their children not comfortable with their disability. It's like almost got me afraid of, like, oh my goodness, is anyone going to hold my reins back if that happens to me? Because I don't want to damage my relationship with my daughter, but at the same time, I want to. I don't know. I'm curious. Everyone will have to stay tuned to see if that ends up happening or not. We'll see. She's 5, so we got a long way to go.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely.
Is there anything more you want to share about parenting? with your vision?
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of one of the pillars of my channel. Parenting and acceptance and just life with a
Tips?
disability. And parenting is that is something that I embrace, and I empower others as much as I can. I think a lot of parents who have disabilities go in it with so many fears and insecurities because of their disabilities. And until you're a parent, you don't realize how powerful intuition is. And just like you adapt and you do what you got to do for yourself and for your life as an individual with disabilities, it's the same as being a parent. You do what you got to do, you adapt, but loving a child is all, I mean, providing a safe, secure, loving environment for them to grow and to mature and to be well-rounded children. I mean, it does, you can be I mean, I've seen so many beautiful stories of both parents in wheelchairs or both parents blind or both. I mean, luckily I have a sighted husband who I do depend on a lot in that area. But there's so many beautiful families out there who raise such beautiful, wonderful, well-rounded children, and they both are severely disabled. And I want to give them a voice. I want to give them a resource that they can go to see, hey, here's a trick for this. Here's a tip for that. Here's a hack for this. Here's how I do this. Here's how I put my kids' shoes on when I can't see them. Here's how I cook, even though I hate it. Here's how, like that's, I just want parents to realize that if I can do it, they can do it. And there's videos on my channel that will hopefully assist them on their journey.
Wow. Yeah.
I would suggest about the cooking. I just recently got a Ninja Foodie, and I love that thing, and it's pretty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's pretty.
What is it again?
The Ninja Foodie. It's a pressure cooker / air fryer / oven / broiler / saute. There's all kinds of things. Yeah. And like when you, instead of turning the oven on in the middle of the summer or something, making everything hot, you can bake in that thing. It's fairly large for a pressure cooker because it does all those things, but it's a lot smaller than a stove. So, pick your battle there. And to me, it's small and convenient that way. So easy clean up, everything. You might enjoy cooking more.
Yeah. I will. I've been wanting to get an air fryer and an Instapot, but
well, that would be both. That's the Ninja Foodie. It would be both.
Yeah, that's what I need to look into that, because I'm getting to the point where it's like, okay, I've got this gadget and that gadget. I'm running out of cabinet space, y'all. I mean, like your kitchens are only so big. You can only have so many of these gadgets and gizmos.
You would have to.
So I need to start.
You would have to make some room for this thing.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to get too off topic, but you were mentioning about cooking and.
Oh yeah. No, I love
hearing
new recommendations like that all the time. I'll look into that.
Mm-hmm. And is there anything that you want to share about your channel more? I know you already did touch on your channel several times, but anything else you wanted to share about your channel?
Well, I try to organize things in playlists. So if you're wanting just like blind community chats, check out, I'm trying to do a lot of different variety things for just blind community chats on different things and parenting. I have segments on acceptance and getting to that healthy place in life when it comes to living with a disability. A lot of my stuff is blind, visually impaired specific because that's what I know. But I also try to generalize a lot of the stuff to those with disabilities. It may, you don't have to be blind to relate to a lot of the content on my channel, because as I have increased my community to individuals with disabilities, I have begun to realize that, oh, you have CP, or oh, you're a spinal cord injury. But yet, a lot of the journeys we go through as far as the emotional acceptance is the same. A lot of the frustrations and the battles of against society and accommodations is the same. And so don't think that you've got to find a bestie who is also blind like you to fulfill that, you know, sense of belonging, and find that person who gets it and understands your struggles. So many people with disabilities do. It doesn't have to be the exact same disability. And so I've really tried to open up my perspective as far as content on my channel goes, because I want to not only lift up my blind VIP community, but others with disabilities as well that
Oh,
may not
absolutely.
have, that may not have that community because their condition is so rare. So that's, but there's parenting, there's acceptance, there's tips, there's tricks. I love doing blind mom hack videos. I'm not great at them because they tend to be a little bit more visual as far as editing and such goes. And I'm still learning a lot, Diana. I'm still learning a lot from you. YouTube is a huge learning curve. Making videos and editing is a huge learning curve. And so I've been at this for a year and a half now, and I'm still I'm still learning and growing.
A year and a half is new. I'm on YouTube for 5.5 years.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
6 years. 6 years in November.
Yeah, it's like a full-time job doing all that.
It can be. Oh yeah, it is so.
Time flies by when you're.
Yes, it does, and it's so funny because I've got people. I've had people message me. They're like, "Oh, well, how much money do you make at that?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't make anything. Like, I don't know anybody who really makes a lot of money at it unless they are like one of these big full-time influencers,
Yeah.
Because I'm doing this for the love, for the passion, to pay it forward. I am doing it to help my peoples out. And I would love to make money. That certainly it would be nice for this to be.
Oh, what happened?
Did we lose her?
No, she's still there.
I lost her audio.
Yeah, we lost your audio, Cindy. Let me see. I don't think it's.
Can she at least hear us?
I don't know. Can you nod if you can hear us?
Give us a thumbs up if you can hear.
She can hear us. She can hear us.
Okay.
Wait a minute. Let me
she might have hit a mute button or something.
Oh, she might have hit a mute button. Yeah, nothing here. It's not.
It's something to do with your mic, Cindy. Because if you can hear us, it's got to be your mic.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, so are you able to unmute, or maybe she's not able to? Oh,
you might have to leave and come back, maybe.
Well, anyway, this might be a good ending point.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I think maybe we're just gonna end it. We've gone for like over an hour or so, and this is going to, instead of a live stream, this is going to be. I don't know how many people will actually come to stay for the premiere. We'll probably have people in and out for the premiere.
Yeah, right. So she might try.
Thank you, Cindy. Thank you so much for joining us today. And
your
story is very inspirational. I really enjoyed hearing it, and I got a lot out of it.
Yes, I did too.
And now she is gone.
Yeah, but I think she's leaving and trying to come back.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'll just do some
closing. We're ending it. She might not try to come back because she did say we're trying to end it.
Oh, okay. Okay. All righty. Well,
Um,
thank you all for joining in. Leave a comment if this on the replay. But if you're watching this live during a premiere,
oh yeah, let's see. Here she is coming back.
oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yay. I made it.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah. So I guess that's probably a good ending point, and
Yeah.
So I really got a lot out of hearing your story. And
Yeah,
Thank
you've been
you,
a
guys.
wonderful guest, Cindy.
Thanks,
I thank
Paul.
you.
I appreciate
I
that.
always look forward to your articulate conversations.
yeah, so articulate.
Thank you.
I think the country could learn a lot from just listening to you.
Yeah.
You know, when you converse with
thanks.
you, back and forth about many topics, and this is how really life should be.
Yeah.
Just acknowledging tips and journeys in people's lives with no judgment, and just learn from each other, and that's what this is all about. There's no textbook that this is how you're supposed to live your life. Everyone is different. So
Right. And, I feel like having discussions like this and finding community like this is so important because it helps normalize a lot of the things that we find similar in our journeys, and really helps us fulfill that sense of belonging and that we're not alone in this game of life and in our challenges and our struggles with it. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys letting me come on this evening and doing this.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed it in the chat.
Yeah.
Yes. I hope everyone enjoyed it in the chat, and I'll be in the lake in Michigan. This is my birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Paul. I hope
Thank
you have
you
an
very
awesome,
much.
Really
awesome
happy birthday.
vacation. Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much.
All
All right,
you
Diana.
guys.
Thank you, Diana. Always
No,
my
Thank
co-host.
you, Paul. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah. All right,
Thanks,
and
guys.
Thank you again, Cindy.
we'll see you
Bye,
guys.
y'all.
We'll see you guys in November.
I don't know if you want to. Well, I could end it, and then I don't know if everybody was going to stick around a little bit, or if everybody had to go. But okay, bye everybody, and then if you wanted to stick around afterwards,
Okay.